Welcome back. President's Day. People are probably thinking about, what they're going to do with their presidential vote and what priorities a president may have that would affect them. And the same thing can really be said about, your own life and what priorities you have. A lot of people do consider their house a big priority, and maybe they're trying to find ways to keep it. Maybe they're looking at buying something that they can not only live in, but also, create some income. Jared Fraser owns us, owner of StartOwningRentals.com, with over a decade of experience in real estate and property management industries. Welcome back, Jared.
Hey, thank you. Glad to be here.
How you doing today?
Doing good.
You having a nice President's Day, or are you working? You're here, so you're working hard, right?
Yeah, I'm always working hard. Yeah, definitely.
Talk a little bit about, somebody may want to buy a house, they may want to live in it, but they also may want to make a few bucks on it.
Yeah, that has become more popular. People are looking at all the options now when they're buying a house. And one that has, kind of sparked some interest is a mother-in-law suite or income suite, basically a way to buy a house, live in it in the main, floor of the house, and then rent out the basement, turn it into an apartment, or the upstairs unit, turn it into an apartment, and rent that out. And, you are making money, but definitely it's lowering your expenses. It's lowering that monthly cost.
So when you say mother-in-law, you're not thinking pool house. This isn't a second house, or a second unit on the property?
I mean, that could happen, but that's pretty rare in our area. A lot of
tough shed that somebody's cut some holes in and
you
thrown their mother-in-law in.
That's where we'd like to put them, but not always. No, these are typically units or homes where.
Just kidding, Sally. Better apologize now.
These are typically houses and units where they're living in the same structure. So it's. Some of them have already been converted where you have separate entrance to that unit, to the basement side of it. And it's a good way to rent, $500 to $1,100 a month to really lower your expenses, lower your cost of your mortgage.
And this is, and I think you kind of hit it on the head, though. This is maybe a separate entrance. This is not a roommate situation.
I actually am working with somebody who does, looking for a roommate situation like that. But more commonly, they don't want to live share the same living room with their tenant, but they want to have like a separate entrance, like you're saying, have like a separate apartment in the.
Better like all the same TV shows if you're gonna live in the same, share the same living room, right?
Yeah, odd couple situation.
Right,
going on,
right. You can only imagine. So when somebody then takes this, there's other ways to do this, because there's also, you talk about separate entrances. You could duplex, fourplex. Is that a hot market out there right now?
It's picking up, definitely. There is a buyer out there who understands the importance of ownership, the financial, benefits of ownership, and they're not ready for a full house, or they don't want to live it. They want to make a smart decision. So they can buy a duplex, they can buy a triplex or a fourplex with the same financing as you would for a normal house. So, that 3.5% down. And they could basically make money while they're living there. Or I've had some cases where you're only paying $80 a month for your mortgage after you collect the rent from the other unit. So it's people who are looking at investing and also owning and buying themselves a place. And kind of they're trying to dive into their first house and also investing at the same time.
And that allows them, and this is kind of that, a little bit of liaison. do you think it helps to live in the house? You definitely can keep an eye on it.
It definitely does. You're there if anything ever goes wrong. So, you don't really have to have a management company, keeping an eye on the property. You're there. If anything's going on that's odd or needs to be repaired, you're right there. You're going to see it, be able to attend to it. So it's a great way to start that investment for the new owner, because he can lower his repair costs because he's there. He can take care of it on his own time. He doesn't have to drive somewhere else to fix it. And
even if you're trying to show the units, it's got to be easier. Anytime that people want to pop by, get off your couch and show the unit.
Yeah, definitely. And these, there's people that have been maybe priced out of an area. I've some clients that want to own in West Seattle, but everything's kind of more expensive out in West Seattle. Well, there's some duplex options out there that if they can afford it, because if they take the rent from the other half of the unit, that lowers the monthly payment enough to where they can actually stay in West Seattle, and then they have a thriving income property, and they get to still live and own in West Seattle.
And so then, is that one of those biggest benefits then? Covering the mortgage, maybe affording a larger or more expensive home?
Yeah, those are. I mean, those are the big benefits. There are some tax benefits. You don't get as much as a full rental because you still are living in the space. So it's still, you don't get the full investment. You get about half or a percentage of what you can deduct from versus a normal one. But it's that first time buyer that's trying to get into the market and trying to buy something that they can, they can take advantage of both sides. The low interest rates we have right now, the prices are down.
Higher rents,
exactly.
Well, maybe it would seem that this would be one way, buying a duplex, triplex, fourplex, to not only buy the house. We talk a lot about people are buying homes now, not necessarily investments, but this kind of straddles that line.
It does, and it's a great way to get started on your investment portfolio, because you can buy this, you put very little money down, you live there for a while, a few years, and then maybe you're ready to move on, and you can keep it as a rental property. You don't have to do anything different with it and just rent out your old space, and now you have a thriving rental property that really didn't take too much money to get into it, and it's a great way to get started and build your investment portfolio and then move on to your nicer primary residence.
Jared, we have a couple minutes left. What are some of those biggest things that people need to consider? I mean, when they're going to go potentially buy something like this?
Having a plan, having a maintenance plan. What are you going to do when things break? Are you going to, how are you going to set up the money for that? I always recommend having, a month's rent set aside to handle repairs and loss of income. So who's going to fix what when it happens? Having those numbers already handy. So if you don't like to do plumbing, have your plumber that you're going to call so you're not in a panic when that's going on. And learn landlord-tenant law. A lot of times people just get into it and rent a place out not understanding landlord-tenant law. And it's not a complicated thing, but just go online. It's on the Washington State websites, and you could just kind of familiarize with it so that you're prepared for what might happen when you're a landlord.
And that could be a lot different for some people because now, you're renting out part of your house. And so there's certain things that in the tenant laws that maybe people aren't as comfortable with.
Exactly. And the laws are different if you live in it and rent it out versus where if it's a full-on rental property. If you're not in there, you're trying to find somebody that works with you because it's you want somebody that's going to work well and have a good living situation with you. But once you move out of that unit, it's then treated as a normal rental property open to anybody.
And then, so you really do have that. So what becomes, and we do have to go to break here in just a second, but, understanding just those responsibilities of, you still are a landlord. It's not just your house. I mean, you have to fix things when they break. It's right. There's some.
Yeah, you still have the same repair responsibilities. You do have to be prepared to, fix whatever's broken. You have the same time frames, depending on what breaks. You might have 24-hour notice or 24 hours to get it repaired, 72 hours to get it repaired. All those are still the same, and those don't change. But if you're looking for, if you're looking for a tenant to,
it's hard. I mean, if you're looking for a tenant who's going to be your maintenance guy, I mean, that's probably a way to do it too. I mean, because that responsibility is yours as a landlord. I mean, sometimes people don't take as good a care of their own house if they don't have to.
That's true. And that maintenance guy, that's a great way to even advertise. You can actually hire somebody who maybe there's tons of maintenance guys out there who could be a handyman. They might be looking for a place to live. So you might be able to come to, an agreement when repairs happen to,
just reduce rent or something.
Reduce rent or, if you have lots of opportunities, and that's a great way. You could even advertise that way. So who knows? You might be able to find a nice handyman that way who have a long-term relationship with that guy.
Well, Jared, thanks so much for joining us. Jared Fraser with StartOwningRentals.com. When we come back, actually, perfect segment here when we get back from break because, some people may want to remodel. Some people may want to even add a mother-in-law, a second story, all these different aspects of remodeling. Kevin Johnson's going to join us. That was Jared Fraser with StartOwningRentals.com. You're listening to Brashenomics. We'll be right back.